Welcome to the First Church in Chestnut Hill for our Sunday service for June 28th, 2020. Please note that next weekend on July 5th there will be no service as we will be observing Independence Day and we'll be giving the staff and our volunteers off for the weekend. Now, our readings. Psalm 13. How long, O Lord, will you forget me? Forever? How long will you hide your face from me? How long must I bear pain in my soul and have my sorrow in my heart all day long? How long shall my enemy be exalted over me? Consider and answer me, O Lord my God. Give light to my eyes, or I will sleep the sleep of death, and my enemy will say, I have prevailed. My foes will rejoice because I am shaken. But I trusted in your steadfast love. My heart shall rejoice in your salvation. I will sing to the Lord because he has dealt bountifully with me. Our next reading is from the book of Genesis, chapter 22, verses 7 to 12. Isaac said to his father Abraham, Father, and he said, Here I am, my son. Isaac said, The fire and the wood are here, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering? Abraham said, God himself will provide the lamb for a burnt offering. So the two of them walked on together. When they came to the place where God had shown him, Abraham built an altar there and laid the wood in order. He bound his son Isaac and laid him on the altar on top of the wood. Then Abraham reached out his hand and took the knife to kill his son. But the angel of the Lord called to him from heaven and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, Here I am. He said, Do not lay your hand on the boy or do anything to him. For now I know that you fear God, since you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me. So ends the reading.
As I went down in the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the starry crown? Good Lord, show me the way. Oh, sisters, let's go down, come on down. Oh, sisters, let's go down in the river to pray. As I went down in the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the robe and crown? Good Lord, show me the way. Oh, brothers, let's go down, come on down. Come on, brothers, let's go down in the river to pray. As I went down in the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the starry crown? Good Lord, show me the way. Oh, fathers, let's go down, come on down. Oh, fathers, let's go down in the river to pray. As I went down in the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the robe and crown? Good Lord, show me the way. Oh, mothers, let's go down, don't you wanna go down? Come on, mothers, let's go down in the river to pray. As I went down in the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the starry crown? Good Lord, show me the way. Oh, sinners, let's go down, come on down. Oh, sinners, let's go down in the river to pray.
What did we hear? But the angel of the Lord called to him from heaven and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, Here I am. Abraham responds, "Here I am," and this would be the third time he has said so. Once before this passage, when God had asked him to sacrifice Isaac. Once to Isaac, when he asked about the notable lack of anything there to be sacrificed. And finally, when the angel intercedes to prevent the sacrifice, each time saying, "Here I am." The phrase "here I am" seems fairly bland. It's rather unremarkable. Abraham will say it 3 times, once not knowing what is being asked, once when his son is following him along in dreadful silence, and then once when he is actually moving to kill Isaac. The Hebrew term translated here as "here I am" is hineni, and there is no good English equivalent to the term. The phrase is far more active than the words imply. It suggests readiness or attentiveness. Abraham is vigilantly alert in all 3 situations. He is attuned to God, he is attuned to his son, and he is attuned to the terrible moment at the end of that reading. The quality of that attentiveness probably changes, even though we hear the exact same words 3 times. It's expectation, then dread, and then relief. The story is, in this sense, a very broad canvas upon which we can paint our emotional responses. The words are lacking, so we have to imply their meaning. Do we see Abraham as admirable or cruel, passive or aggressive, resigned or dejected? And what of poor Isaac plodding along behind in the wilderness? At what point does he figure out something is terribly wrong? What goes through his mind on that silent, terrible journey? And at the end, how do we read the moment when the angel intervenes? It's a sense of deliverance, I would imagine. Whew, it's all over. But what about what comes after that? The ongoing relationship between father and son, the near miss death. How would Isaac respond in the years to come after almost having died at his father's hand at the request of God? How do you look your child in the eye? How do you speak to your parent? There's almost nothing in the Bible that suggests that Isaac had any further interactions with his father other than burying him in Hebron. Silence, like the silence along that terrible walk to the place of sacrifice. There's also no information that Abraham would ever speak again to Sarah, who dies in the very next chapter. Well, what did she know? What would she have thought? We don't know anything about what's in the text, other than what's in the text. So we're left to our own judgments as to the unfolding and probably tragic family dynamic. The binding of Isaac, as that passage is known, has been interpreted in many ways. It is an example of ultimate faith or one of blind faith. It is a theological cornerstone for Jewish and Christian thought, or it's a caution against the extremes of religious fanaticism. Again, it's a story of scant detail into which the reader can project far more than the words imply. The story may simply be a psychological test, a dilemma for us to respond to, and from which we are to calibrate our personal understanding of God and God's expectations of us. So, I'll offer my own interpretation, no surprise on a Sunday. Bear in mind that this is just my version, and I don't suggest that it's anywhere close to the final word. Personally, I find the story of Abraham and Isaac to be horrific. Abraham and Sarah were given a child very late in life, and to have God suggest that the gift be given back in the cruelest possible way is unthinkable. And for that reason, I look at the story as a broken story, one that was never intended to end the way that it was presented, that no one ever should be put in the place of sacrificing a child for any reason. In fact, it is there to give us the opposite message. No human being should be sacrificed, either in the literal or the metaphoric sense. We see a ram materialize out of nowhere. It's given by God to then be given back to God. What is the meaning of a sacrifice if everything already comes from God? This for me is the subversive message, because the Bible is filled with language about ritual and sacrifice. We no longer do any of that, but at the time the book of Genesis was set down, that was the primary form of religious engagement with God. Even in the time of Jesus, his presentation at the temple after his birth is marked by the sacrifice of 2 doves on the altars. And yet we don't see Jesus sacrificing animals as burnt offerings. The only moment akin to that is him overturning the tables of the money changers. Not exactly an endorsement. I, for one, read all of this, and even the silence, as an implicit instruction that Jesus did not want his followers offering sacrifices at the temple, or for any other reason. Sacrifice can mean to offer something up to God, whether a literal sacrifice of an animal or some personal undertaking like a fast or a pilgrimage. Sacrifice can also mean giving up something in furtherance of an ideal, like sacrificing one's life for one's country. In both senses of the word, sacrifice is a step taken for a transcendent purpose. It is beyond the ordinary actions of our lives. But what are we supposed to sacrifice, if anything? In the book of Micah, there is a passage which shows a transition between thoughts about sacrifice, moving from one sense to another. Here is the King James Version. Wherewith shall I come before the Lord, and bow myself before the high God? Shall I come before him with burnt offerings, with calves of a year old? Will the Lord be pleased with thousands of rams, or with 10,000 of rivers of oil? Shall I give my firstborn for my transgression, the fruit of my body for the sin of my soul? He hath showed thee, O man, what is good. And what doth the Lord require of thee, but to do justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with thy God? This sounds like the prophet Micah is saying that we're supposed to give up on all the ritual sacrifices and instead focus on our behavior. And move away from ritual requirements of the temple and instead acts of personal piety. And that's a fair reading. But I would also add that the concept of sacrifice may more properly be thought of as evolving from something given to God into something undertaken on behalf of God. To do justly implies that we will live our lives in keeping with the notion of justice. Well, how is that a sacrifice? Because it is possible to get away with a lot in this life without being just. To get away with some people doing well while other people are suffering. To get away with some people shouldering the burdens of life while others just reap the benefits. To get away with justice being measured by what is best for a chosen few rather than what is best for the wider society. To love mercy implies that we will lead lives beyond the sharp edges of the law. How is mercy in this sense sacrifice? Because mercy is never merited. It is, by definition, something offered to those who aren't deserving of it according to the law. Mercy is given to the stranger, to the alien, to the beggar. Mercy is a gift from us to the world. It is undeserved, it is unearned. Much like the blessings of life are undeserved and unearned gifts from God to us. To walk humbly with God is just that, to realize that we neither deserve nor have earned all that we've received. Did I deserve good health while someone else suffers? Did I deserve good fortune while someone else struggles? Did I deserve to be born in a place at a time to a family with greater prospects than someone poorer, sicker, or less lucky? We are not worthy of the blessings of this life, and humility is the realization that we have, in this sense, lucked out. Now, not everyone listening to this will count themselves in the lucky column, I realize. I have no way of knowing where anyone is in their respective life journey. And even if I did, I would have no way of assessing the various levels of luck that one has experienced in life. Humility is not only about the fortunate counting their blessings. Humility is the realization that all of our lives are different, with varying joys and sorrows, blessings and misfortunes from time to time. Humility is also, therefore, the natural byproduct of a life dedicated to both justice and mercy. Justice gives us a sense of what fairness might look like in any situation. Mercy is the realization that we can do something about life's inequalities and life's predicaments. In turn, humility is the understanding that we may be the beneficiaries of life without meriting those benefits, and that others may be lacking those very benefits. Now notice I didn't add at the end, through no fault of their own. Because people do make mistakes. People make really bad decisions. Mercy is not about who deserves anything, but it's about who has the ability to offer it. We can become stuck on our own life story, our own image of worth, our own good fortune, and declare that that image, that story, is the minimum effort we need to see to justify offering our help to some other human being. That's not justice, that's certainly not mercy, and it is anything but humility. What doth the Lord require of thee, but to do justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with thy God? God does not ask that we give back what he has given to us, burnt and ruined on an altar emblazoned with his name. He asks us to share what we have been given. He asks that we give of and from ourselves to someone else in the form of helping one another. And you will know it needs to be done because the need itself exists, not because someone has met some bare minimum requirement for justifying a charitable impulse. The term deserving poor is redundant. It is the idea of worthiness that if that's somehow the measure of our ability to love our neighbors, to care for the sick, to help those who are hungry, would it suddenly be unfair for God to just withdraw all those blessings that we have been given until we showed ourselves to be worthy of those gifts and God's efforts? If we were to draw up the workings of the world, but we didn't know if in our lives we would be born rich or poor, healthy or sick, high born or low caste, if we didn't know those things, we would probably build a system of fairness and equity, for fear that we might be unable to navigate life's pitfalls. Well, we don't have that power. We don't have that ability. What we have is a message, and that is the message about how we're supposed to treat each other. And in effect, it's the same result. For we have the ability to address the inequities of our society and to fix the injustices that are perpetuated in our country. To do so will take effort. It will take sacrifice. It is to offer of ourselves for the greater good with transcendent purpose. Put another way, we need to listen to what God is asking us to do. To do justly, to love mercy, and to always walk humbly with our God. For that is who we are called to be, and we may sometimes be in need of that justice, that mercy, and certainly that humility. Amen.
Still with thee, when purple morning breaketh, when the bird waketh and the shadows flee, fairer than morning, lovelier than daylight, dawns the sweet consciousness I am with thee, alone with thee, amid the mystic shadows, the solemn hush of nature newly born. and freshness of the morn. Still with thee, as to each newborn morning, a fresh and solemn splendor still is given. So does this blessed consciousness awaking breathe each day nearness unto thee and heaven. So shall it be at last in that bright morning, when the soul waketh and life's shadows flee. Oh, in that hour fairer than daylight dawning shall rise the glorious thought, I am with thee. Amen.
Amen. Let us end together in prayer. The prayer of St. Francis. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me so love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. And where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen. Our service is ended. May our service to God and to one another never truly end. Be safe, be well, and God bless you all, and see you in 2 weeks. Amen.